The billionaire's daughter crumpled on the cool marble floor of the penthouse, her tiny body rigid with unseen torment, while the maid knelt close, her fingers steady but her breath ragged, cradling something slender, black and twitching in her open hand. "Sylvia, what have you done?" The concierge whispered hoarsely, rooted in place by dread. Footsteps pounded across the vast living space. Mr. John Smith, the tech titan whose algorithms bent the world to his code, stormed through the glass doors, his chiseled features drained of color. "What happened to my daughter?" he roared, lunging ahead. Sylvia's voice quivered as she met his gaze, her deep brown eyes brimming. "I didn't harm her, sir," she murmured. "I promise, I was only trying to ease her pain." "Ease it." John snapped, his commander's timbre reverberating off the skyline views. "You laid hands on Maria? Without my say-so." Sylvia unfurled her palm deliberately. Nestled there was an enigma no lab had ever catalogued, something eerie, inky, and slick that shimmered unnaturally in the afternoon light. The trio recoiled as one, breaths held, faces ashen. The penthouse air hung dense, wordless, oppressive until a fragile chime pierced it. "Sylvia." It emanated from the girl. The same girl born locked in silence. The same girl who had never breathed a syllable in her 4 years. For an instant, nothing stirred, not even John. And in that hush, he knew the maid had wrought the unthinkable. Dear reader, this is a tale woven from heartache, hidden truths, and the fierce grace that defies fortunes untold. Linger with me through its turns, for what unfolds will stir your soul and whisper that true restoration often arrives not in vaults of gold, but in the overlooked hands that dare to reach. And also don't forget to click subscribe and comment where you're watching from. The Smith penthouse crowned Manhattan's pinnacle like a crown of steel and glass, where every vista sparkled and every fixture whispered excess. Yet beneath the gleam lurked a void no designer could fill. The space sprawled across acres of sky, but it echoed with an absence sharper than any echo. Staff glided soundlessly between rooms, their steps muffled on Persian rugs, for they knew their employer, Mr. John Smith, demanded such precision. John was an architect of empires, his days a symphony of algorithms, mergers, and markets that minted billions. But beneath his polished veneer simmered a father adrift in the dark. His only child, Maria, had entered the world swathed in quiet. No therapy, no trial, no globe-trotting guru had breached that veil. He had poured fortunes into whispers of cures, jetting from Zurich labs to Tokyo trials, only to return to the same barren hush. Maria was 4 now. She had never caught the murmur of wind through Central Park leaves, never known her father's timbre in a lullaby, never shaped a sound of her own. Her universe unfolded in vibrations felt through floors and signs etched in air, gestures that painted pictures where words failed. Often she would perch by the vast windows, palm pressed to the pane, tracing raindrops' silent race as if chasing melodies just beyond grasp. The household had picked up fragments of sign language for her sake, though few committed fully. Some regarded her with distant sorrow, others with a wary unease, as if her muteness might seep into their own lives like a curse. But one soul beheld her otherwise. Her name was Sylvia. Sylvia Washington was a recent addition to the staff, a poised black woman of 32, her ebony glow and sculpted features a quiet counterpoint to the sterile luxury. She had arrived seeking steadiness after her world fractured, bills from a lost pregnancy and a husband's wrongful lockup in Georgia's shadowed cells. Her uniform pressed crisp each dawn, hair coiled in an elegant twist, she moved with unassuming rhythm, no murmur of discontent, no ripple of rumor. Yet behind her serene mask pulsed a reservoir of scars she seldom surfaced. Sylvia once cradled a newborn son whose cries faded into eerie calm after a baffling ear ailment, waved off by overburdened rural doctors as nothing serious. She recalled the sterile dismissals, her mother's bowed head in the waiting room, and how that tiny life slipped away unheard, her final coups forever unanswered. From that fracture, she forged an unspoken oath. Should fate cross her path with another silenced child, she would not turn aside. The first time Sylvia glimpsed Maria, the girl knelt amid scattered blocks in the sunlit atrium, stacking them with meticulous poise. She didn't glance up as Sylvia passed with her feather duster, but something snagged, Maria's motions too deliberate, too contained, her gaze a mirror of isolation Sylvia knew bone deep. From then on, Sylvia began leaving traces, a ribbon-tied daisy from the rooftop garden, a polished pebble etched with a smiley face, a sketch of birds in flight on linen notepaper. At first, Maria ignored them. But one crisp morning, Sylvia found the pebble nestled by the blocks, the daisy tucked into her collar. Gradually, a shift stirred. While Sylvia buffed the atrium mirrors, Maria would drift nearer, peering at their twin reflections. Sylvia would grin and fingerspell her name. Soon, a tentative wave replied. When a crystal vase once slipped from Sylvia's grasp, shattering in a muted cascade, Maria's shoulders shook with noiseless mirth, her palms clapping in delight. It marked the first unguarded spark of glee the penthouse had witnessed. Bit by bit, Sylvia wove into Maria's orbit, the sole presence the girl sought out. She wove tales via signs during braid sessions, and Maria mirrored back with block-built stories of towers and falls. Sylvia didn't approach her as a case study. She met her as a spark deserving the world's full chorus. Not all approved. One twilight, as Sylvia aligned silverware in the dining gallery, the concierge sidled close with a hiss. "Keep your distance from the little miss. Mr. Smith frowns on entanglements below stairs." Sylvia paused, cloth in hand. "She lights up around stories," she replied evenly. "That's not our lane," he countered. "Polish the silver, not play companion." Sylvia held her tongue, but her spirit rebelled. She recognized neglect's shadow in Maria's wide stares, the kind that had dimmed her own boy's light. That evening, as the city hummed below and the staff retreated to their quarters, Sylvia lingered by the atrium's edge, the tick of a minimalist clock her sole company. Memories of her son resurfaced, the fevered flushes, the ear tugs dismissed as teething. She couldn't let history echo. Dawn broke with resolve. She found Maria in the play nook, fingers probing her ear with a grimace, discomfort etching her cherubic brow. Sylvia crouched low, signing fluidly, "What's troubling you, sweet one?" Maria shook her golden curls, signing back with urgency, "It stings." "Bad." Sylvia tilted nearer, sunlight slanting through the panes to illuminate the curve of Maria's ear. For a heartbeat, her pulse stalled. Buried within, a shadow stirred, dark, fluid, alien. She blinked, questioning the flicker, but the unease rooted deep. "We'll fetch Daddy," she signed, forcing calm. Maria's hands flew, "No healers. They poke. Hurt lots." Terror flickered in her blue depths. And there Sylvia grasped the full weight, not mere phobia, but etched betrayal. That night, slumber evaded her. The phantom in Maria's ear replayed in visions, a thief of sound and peace. What if it festered? What if it chained her forever? She pondered alerting the concierge, but protocol loomed. Without John's nod, voices like hers dissolved into ether, and John scarcely acknowledged her shadow. Come morning, the ache intensified. Maria pawed at her ear during blocks, winces punctuating her play. Sylvia shadowed her to the nook, pulse racing with quiet alarm. She couldn't stand idle. "Lord, light my way," she breathed inwardly. As Maria whimpered again, eyes glistening, Sylvia chose the path that would rewrite fates. From her apron pocket came a slender manicure tool, glinting like resolve. She knelt, murmuring, "Easy now. I'll make it better." And precisely then, as her quivering fingers neared, the atrium door sighed ajar. Eyes upon them. The hush of that intrusion hung like a held breath, but Sylvia pressed on through the shadowed hours ahead, nights of stealth and dawn's fragile light, until the penthouse's polished veil began to crack, revealing the raw undercurrents of trust, loss, and the voices waiting to break free. The atrium door's sigh lingered like a half-formed question, but Sylvia's hand didn't falter. In the dim glow of the night lamp, her manicure tool sleek and improvised, hooked the shadow with a precision born of desperation. A faint, wet resistance gave way, and the thing slithered free, that jet-black tendril, no thicker than a vein, coiling once in her palm before its pulses stuttered to stillness. Maria's blue eyes fluttered wide, her small chest heaving as if surfacing from depths. Sylvia held her breath, the air thick with a metallic tang of revelation. Then, like a reed bending in unseen wind, Maria tilted her head. The distant thrum of the elevator cables, the faint whoosh of traffic far below, they pierced her for the first time. Her lips parted, and out came the chime, "Sylvia" loud. The word hung, crystalline and unbidden, a thread pulled from silence's loom. Sylvia's throat tightened, tears blurring the girl's golden curls. "Oh child," she whispered, cradling Maria close, the tendril forgotten in her lap. "You hear it all now. Every bit of the world's song." Maria blinked, wonder chasing the remnants of pain from her face. She reached up, tiny fingers tracing Sylvia's cheek, then giggled, a sound like silver bells tumbling free. From the doorway, the concierge's shadow shifted, his gasp a muffled echo, but in that cocoon of two, the penthouse felt vast and alive, as if the city itself leaned in to listen. John's roar shattered the moment hours later, when paramedics had swarmed and the first flashes of news helicopters stippled the skyline. He had burst in mid-extraction's echo, his accusations a storm of paternal fury, but Maria's voice, her voice, had cut through like dawn. "Daddy, home." Those syllables, raw and exploratory, had buckled him mid-stride, his Armani knees hitting marble as sobs racked the man who coded unbreakable firewalls. Now, in the sun-drenched nursery the morning after, that miracle bloomed unchecked. Maria, swaddled in Egyptian silk that whispered against her skin, perched on the edge of her canopied bed, ears attuned to symphonies John had long surrendered to algorithms. "Listen, Daddy," she chirped, pointing a chubby finger at the floor-to-ceiling windows where Manhattan's pulse thrummed. A taxi horn blared from the avenue below, sharp and insistent. Maria pursed her lips and honked back, a wobbly, gleeful mimicry that dissolved into peals of laughter. John, perched beside her in rumpled slacks, his first unpressed attire in years, gathered her into his lap, his green eyes glistening. "That's my girl," he murmured, voice thick, pressing a kiss to her forehead. Louder than any boardroom. She wriggled free, tumbling into Sylvia's arms with the abandon of one discovering flight. Sylvia hugged tight, like the wind. The maid enveloped her, ebony arms a safe harbor, her uniform's crisp lines softening under the girl's grasp. For John, watching from the chaise, it was a sight both balm and barb, his porcelain air, alive with sound, bridging worlds he had walled off with NDAs and non-competes. The days blurred into a tentative idyll, nights silk-swaddled and story-laced. As dusk painted the skyline in bruised purples, the trio would gather in the nursery's alcove, Maria's favored nook with its velvet cushions and star-projected ceiling. John, shedding his tycoon's armor one button at a time, would dim the lights, his tablet silenced for the first time in a decade. Sylvia, ever the quiet anchor, would hum low, an old spiritual from Georgia's red clay churches, swing low, sweet chariot, its melody a river carving stone. Maria would nestle between them, her golden head on Sylvia's knee, John's hand dwarfing hers. "Sing more," Maria would plead, her voice a fledgling's trill, each word a victory etched in air. And Sylvia would oblige, her alto weaving through the penthouse's sterile hush like smoke from a hidden fire. It was on the third such evening, with Maria's breaths evening into sleep's rhythm, that the dam cracked. John shifted, his gaze lingering on Sylvia's profile, high cheekbones gilded by the lamp's glow, eyes distant as forgotten rivers. "How did you know?" he asked softly, the question that had simmered since the extraction. Not accusation now, but awe, laced with the humility of a man glimpsing his own blind spots. Sylvia's humming faltered, her fingers stilling in Maria's curls. She glanced at him, weighing the shadows in his face against the fragility of the piece they'd stitched. "It wasn't knowledge, Mr. Smith," she said at last, her voice a velvet thread. "It was echo." He leaned forward, elbows on knees, the billionaire reduced to listener. "Echo." She nodded, gaze drifting to the window where city lights flickered like hesitant stars. "Back in Georgia, when I was barely more than Maria's age, my mama lost her way after Daddy passed. Bills piled like storm clouds, and then came my boy, little Jamal, born healthy as harvest moon. But at 6 months, he started tugging his ears, fussing like the devil was whispering secrets. We took him to the clinic in town. Folks called it the free house, but free came with strings. Doctor said it was just an infection, teething maybe. Gave us drops that did nothing but burn." Her alto dipped, cracking on the memory. Jamal's cries. They faded, turned to that awful quiet. By 8 months, he wasn't responding to my voice, my claps, nothing. I begged for tests, but they waved us off, "Poor folks' ailments," one nurse muttered. "Underfunded," they said. But I saw it in his eyes, that same trapped wonder Maria had. And one night when I bathed him, the water caught the light just so. Something dark flickered in his ear. Like a shadow alive. I tried to fish it out with a matchstick, but he wailed so fierce, and by morning. She trailed off, a hand pressing her chest as if to hold the ache in. He was gone. Pneumonia, they ruled. But I always wondered if that thing, that mystery, stole his hearing first, choked his fight. John's breath caught, the weight of her words settling like code compiling in his mind, lines of loss he'd never debugged. You carried that all these years? And when you saw Maria? Sylvia met his eyes, unflinching. I saw Jamal. And I couldn't let history rhyme again. Not when my hands were steady enough to try. A beat then softer. Faith got me through the prison letters for my husband too, wrongly locked for a fight he didn't start. Taught me shadows hide in plain sight. But love? It pulls them free. John exhaled, rubbing his jaw, the chiseled lines etched deeper by dawn's unfiltered light. For the first time, arrogance's armor felt like fool's gold, brittle against a maid's quiet steel. I've thrown millions at shadows, he confessed, voice rough. Swiss clinics, gene therapies, AI cochlear mocks. Dr. Grant swore Maria's was congenital, irreversible. But you. He shook his head, a laugh bubbling bitter. A fingernail and nerve. Remind me never to bet against Georgia grit. Maria stirred then, murmuring in sleep, "Love you, Daddy." The words landed like absolution, drawing fresh tears to John's lashes. He scooped her up, pressing his lips to her temple. "I love you too, Peanut." More than lines of code. Sylvia watched, her own eyes misting, the maternal echo bridging chasms of class and color. Two parents, forged in different fires, tending the same fragile flame. By week's end, wonder edged toward wariness. John's tech-savvy paranoia, dormant under grief's blanket, flickered awake. Over espresso in the glass-walled study, views of the Hudson a steel-blue distraction, he summoned his fixer, a ex-CIA shadow named Reyes. "That thing Sylvia pulled," John said, sliding a sealed vial across the obsidian desk, the tendril suspended in saline like a glitch in reality. "Get it to Langley's old biolab. Discreet. No traces." Reyes nodded, vanishing into the ether with a private jet's whisper. 2 days later, the encrypted report pinged John's secure line, *synthetic anomaly confirmed. Bioengineered parasitic construct, nanofiber lattice mimicking neural inhibitor. Origin, proprietary pharma strain, circa 2018 trials. Latency, years-long auditory suppression. Non-native to human physiology. John's blood chilled, fingers drumming the desk like errant keystrokes. Engineered. Not fate, not genetics, a deliberate sabotage, woven into the very treatments he'd bankrolled. Dr. Grant's silver assurances replayed, *congenital, Mr. Smith. But our protocols will manage. Manage, for profit's endless loop. Doubt bloomed, thorny and insistent. Who else had profited from Maria's cage? His mind raced, algorithms of anger compiling, audits, traces, takedowns. Meanwhile, the penthouse's undercurrents stirred. Harlan, the concierge, silver-tongued relic of old money service, had caught the extraction's tail end, his gasp the spark to idle tongues. Over gin in the staff quarters, whispers flew, "The maid did what?" And the miss speaks now. By dawn, a junior footman, pockets lined with freelance curiosity, tipped TMZ's hotline. Billionaire's deaf heir speaks, Maid's mystery cure? The headline splashed across feeds by noon, pixels devouring privacy like locusts. John's alert buzzed mid-nursery song, Sylvia mid-chorus, Maria clapping to the rhythm. He scanned the screen, jaw tightening. "It's out," he muttered, showing Sylvia the grainy leak, a blurred atrium shot, her palm obscured but ominous. "They'll twist it into spectacle." Sylvia glanced, unflinching, though her fingers tightened on Maria's. "Let them whisper, sir. Truth echoes louder." But as helicopters buzzed closer, their blades chopping the fragile afterglow, John felt the joy's edges fray. Private wonder was fracturing into public glare, and in the cracks older shadows, Grants, the syndicates, began to slither free. Maria, oblivious, honked another taxi tune, her voice a beacon in the brewing storm. For now, it held. But John knew, miracles, once voiced, demanded reckoning. The tabloid frenzy descended like a swarm of digital locusts, their pixels devouring the penthouse's fragile sanctuary. By midday, John's secure feeds buzzed with notifications, Smith air breaks silence, Maid's miracle or medical mayhem. Grainy atrium stills looped on every network, Sylvia's palm a pixelated enigma, Maria's giggle twisted into clickbait soundbites. John paced the study, his bare feet silent on the heated slate, the city sprawl below a mocking mosaic of order he no longer commanded. They'll crucify her before breakfast, he muttered to Reyes over a scrambled line. The fixer's voice a tinny anchor from some undisclosed airstrip. Double the firewalls. And get me eyes on Grant, yesterday. Reyes's reply crackled affirmative, but John felt the afterglow curdle, joy's warmth leaching into the chill of exposure. Maria's voice, that newborn symphony, now echoed in headlines, a treasure rifled by strangers. Yet in the nursery's heart, amid the chaos, adaptation unfurled like a fern in sudden sun, tentative, then triumphant. Maria's world, once a tapestry of signs and shadows, erupted into verbal confetti. By week's end, her hands fell idle during stories. The fluid arcs of ASL gave way to a torrent of words, each one a pebble skipped across John's guarded pond. "Daddy, the clouds taste like cotton," she'd declare at breakfast, perched on a booster amid crystal stemware, her blue eyes alight as if decoding a private code. John, nursing black coffee in his unbuttoned Oxford, would freeze mid-sip, the billionaire's lexicon bankrupt against whimsy. "Cotton, huh? Sweeter than your mama's tiramisu." He'd counter, voice pitching boyish, drawing her into peals that rattled the Waterford. One afternoon, amid the atrium's sun-dappled sprawl, chaos reigned supreme. Maria, clad in a smock splattered with finger paints, chased Sylvia in circles, whispering conspiracies like a fledgling spy. "Sylvia, secret, the fridge sings when you open it, lullalu." The maid feigned gasp, scooping her mid-twirl, their laughter a duet that braided John's frayed nerves. "Hush now, little spy," Sylvia murmured, tickling her ribs. "Fridges got rights too." John watched from the chaise, tablet forgotten, a reluctant smile cracking his resolve. For the first time, the penthouse thrummed not with server's hum but human harmony, fragile yes but fierce. Emboldened, John bridged chasms long sundered. That evening, as twilight bled indigo across the Hudson, he initiated the calls he dodged for years, video links to the ex-wives, ghosts of mergers more acrimonious than any acquisition. First Elena, the Italian designer whose stilettos had matched his ambition until Maria's cries outpaced their prenup. The screen flickered to life in the study, her Rome atelier a blur of silks behind her sharp bob. "John," she said coolly, eyes narrowing at the uncharacteristic vulnerability in his posture. "To what do I owe the intrusion?" He swallowed, angling the tablet to catch Maria's off-screen babble. "Elena. Dress like stars." Piping through the intercom. Elena's manicured hand flew to her mouth, the frost thawing in rivulets. "Dio mio, she's speaking?" John nodded, throat tight, recounting the extraction in clipped tones, omitting the tabloid vultures for now. Tears silvered her lashes. For 20 minutes, they co-parented across oceans, Elena's laughter mingling with Maria's as they plotted a star gown from sketched napkins. "You've given her wings, John," she whispered at sign-off, the absolution a balm he hadn't sought. Victoria, the venture capitalist from his bootstrapping days, fared stormier, her London flat a fortress of ledgers, but even she cracked when Maria trilled, "Aunt Vic, teach me money magic?" Triumph laced the air, John's chest swelling with a proxy pride. Not his code, but his girl's voice, mending fractures wealth had widened. Yet beneath the bloom, John's probe burrowed like roots seeking rot. Reyes's initial sweep yielded fragments, whispers of select patient cohorts in elite audiology circles, children of means funneled into perpetual protocols. John's mind, wired for patterns, spun the threads into dread. He retreated to the study that night, the vial's ghost haunting his desk, synthetic anomaly, a glitch in the matrix of trust he'd bankrolled. Flashbacks assailed him unbidden, Maria's first diagnosis, a sterile suite in Mount Sinai's velvet-draped wing, the air thick with antiseptic and false hope. He was 36 then, fresh from a hostile takeover, Elena's hand ice in his as Dr. Elias Grant, silver mane impeccable, smile a scalpel's edge, leaned in with paternal gravitas. Congenital, Mr. Smith, profound bilateral. But our consortium's pioneering, neural scaffolds, gene vectors. 50 million over 5 years? We'll chart new frontiers. John's signature had flown across the dotted line, a king's ransom for whispers of management. Cut to Zurich, 18 months later, Maria too and willful, strapped to a scanning halo, her silent wails vibrating the glass as Grant's deputy cooed, "Just a calibration, little one." John had paced the hall, closing a crypto deal via earpiece, blind to the tech's true tether, a lattice not to liberate, but to leash. Fabricated, the report sneered now. Patterns emerged in Reyes's dossiers, a dozen heirs, all irrevocable, all funneled to Grant's consortium, their ledgers bloated with experimental fees. John's rage simmered, not the boardroom blaze but a forge's glow, resolve hardening into retribution. They didn't heal her. They harvested her. Sylvia's insight deepened the rift, her resilience a quiet lodestone drawing John's gaze. Bath time had become ritual, the nursery's marble tub a lagoon of bubbles and lore, Maria splashing epics of sea monsters slain by Sylvia swords. One twilight soak, as foam crowned her curls like a halo, Sylvia's loofah paused mid-lather. Her fingers traced Maria's lobe, gentle as a psalm, and stilled. "Child, what's this?" Faint ridges marred the skin, puckered crescents, no larger than freckles, but etched with surgical precision. Maria shrugged, signing absently Dr. Pokes. "Old." Sylvia's alto caught, her eyes storming as she rinsed the suds, revealing a constellation of scars. Behind the ear, along the canal's curve, remnants of procedures, probes masked as progress. John, drawn by the hush, knelt at tub's edge, water beading his cuffs. "What is it?" Sylvia met his gaze over Maria's crown, her voice steel-wrapped velvet. "Marks of the unseen, Mr. Smith. Not birth's fault, but hands that lingered too long." Maria burbled on, oblivious, stacking bubbles into towers, but the air thickened with accusation's weight. Later, as John tucked her in, her whispers now lullabies of goodnight stars, Sylvia's advocacy flickered subtle. A murmured prayer at bedside, "Lord, guard her echoes," her hand lingering on Maria's brow like a ward against wolves. The letters arrived the next dawn, a manila packet from George's penal shadows, Sylvia's husband, Marcus, his script a cipher of endurance. John glimpsed them over coffee, the envelope unsealed on the kitchen aisle, words leaping like indictments. "Babe, the appeals drag, but your light keeps the bars thin. Heard about the girl. Proud you're fighting ghosts again. Don't let the big house blind you to the heart's code." John's fingers tightened on his mug, the parallel a mirror cracked. His control, a penthouse algorithm enforcing distance. Marcus's, stolen by a system rigged for falls. Control issues, he mused inwardly, empathy's ember flaring. Wealth's blind spots, his own vast as the skyline, had insulated him from such chains, but Sylvia's grace pierced them, her guidance a compass in the gathering fog. "Read it if you want," she'd said earlier, unflinching, folding the pages with care. "Reminds me, some cages are iron, others glass. Both need breaking." John had nodded, the mogul's poise yielding to a nod of kinship unspoken. Tension crested at Lou Bernardine, the midtown bastion where power lunched in linen folds. John had summoned Grant under Truce's guise, a consult on Maria's progress, the table a battlefield of foie gras and feints. Grant arrived punctual as a scalpel, his silver mane a crown of false benevolence, tweed jacket bespoke over a frame honed by Hampton sails. "John, old friend," he purred, clasping hands with the warmth of a viper's coil. "The news, extraordinary." Maria's voice? "A testament to our groundwork." John's smile was a veneer, green eyes lancing. "Groundwork that missed a parasite the size of a staple? 50 million, Elias. For management." Grant's fork paused mid-air, charm's gloss flickering. "Anomaly, surely, congenital variances. Our vectors were experimental, yes, but ethical. You'd know, funding the vanguard." John leaned in, voice a low compile, "Vanguard or vampire? My investigators flag patterns, select cases, endless enrollments. Heirs like mine, leashed for labs." Grant's laugh tinkled like crystal fracturing. "Conspiracy's your wheelhouse, not mine. Jealous rivals, perhaps? Smith's a target." The lunch dragged, Grant's deflections a smokescreen of anecdotes and vintages, but John's probe landed glancing blows, queries on neural inhibitors, feigned casual. As plates cleared, Grant's facade held, silver tongue untarnished. "We're allies in this, John. For Maria's sake." The anonymous tip arrived at dusk, a burner ping to John's shadow server. "Check consortium archives, protocol echo. High-value latency." Grant's sign-off. Attached, a scanned email chain redacted but damning. "Implant Phase 2, Thompson viable, extend dependency 5 years min revenue proj, $10 million per QTR." John's pulse thundered, rage's simmer boiling over into vow. He stared at the skyline, Maria's distant giggle a counterpoint from the nursery, Sylvia's hum threading through. Grant's charm had cracked, revealing the syndicate's greed, a web spun from his own threads. Empathy's monologue whispered inward, blind no more. For her voice, I'll unravel them all. The penthouse lights dimmed, but in the echoes unseen resolve kindled, a father's fire, tempered by a maid's unyielding light, poised to burn the illusions bare. The skyline spires blurred through John's study window, a jagged code he once mastered now mocking his unraveling. The anonymous tips email chain burned on his secondary screen, asterisk protocol echo, latency optimized for high-value retention. Thompson, Phase 3 viable asterisk, each word a vein pulsing with Grant Syndicate's greed. Rage, once a boardroom flare, now coiled deep, a python in his gut. He fired off encrypted directives to Reyes, asterisk full audit. Cross-reference all select cohorts. Pull strings on SEC shadows. Asterisk Empathy's quiet monologue lingered from Sylvia's letters, Marcus's barbs about glass cages mirroring his own. Wealth buys walls, not windows. John's fingers hovered over the keyboard, privileges armor-denting. For Maria's giggle threading from the nursery, asterisk Sylvia, chase the bubbles. Asterisk, he torched the web himself. Reyes's exposé montage arrived by midnight, a dossier cascade flooding John's secure vault, terabytes of pilfered ledgers, whistleblower affidavits, and grainy surveillance of Hampton's handshakes. The scheme crystallized like a virus replicating, parasite implants, bio-forged in Grant's offshore labs, slipped into routine diagnostics for the 1%'s progeny. Not cures but chains, neural dampeners ensuring auditory blackouts, priming endless therapies at $10 million per cycle. John's breath hitched at the victim roster, 23 heirs, from oil baron sons to media science daughters, their silence a syndicate annuity. Embezzled streams funneled $200 million offshore, Grant's signature a serpentine flourish on every waiver. John's divestment fired like a kill switch, billions yanked from pharma proxies by dawn, stocks cratering in after-hours panic. They farmed our children, he scrawled in a private memo, the mogul's quill trembling. Victim calls followed, unscripted and raw, a Texas rancher's widow, voice cracking over satellite link, your girl's voice? Mine still locked in echoes. They called it progress, progress to their yachts. John's replies, halting at first, cracked his entitlement, no more. We'll audit them to ash. Each sob eroded his blinders, wealth's veil thinning to reveal the greed's underbelly, systemic insatiable, devouring the vulnerable from penthouses to prairies. Sylvia's parallel haunted that night's hush, a dream sequence uncoiling as she dozed in her staff quarters, the penthouses hum a lullaby laced with ghosts. In fevered reverie, Georgia's red clay rose like a wound reopened, the clabbered clinic under sagging oaks, air thick with bleach and despair. She was 25, Jamal's weight a warm bundle in her arms, his tiny fists kneading her collarbone. The infection had bloomed overnight, fever flushes, ear tugs frantic as a trapped bird's. Mama's Ford rattled them to the free clinic, its waiting room a crush of threadbare hopes. Dr. Harlan, mustached relic with eyes like chipped flint, skimmed Jamal's chart, waving off her pleas. Teething, likely. Drops'll do. But Sylvia saw the flicker in the otoscope's beam, a shadow writhing, dark as kudzu roots, burrowing deeper. It's moving, she'd insisted, voice pitching. Harlan scoff, rural myths, girl. Underfunded means we triage, ain't no room for fancy scans. The drops scorched, Jamal's coos curdled to silence. Weeks blurred, bills like shackles, Marcus working double shifts at the mill. One storm-lashed night, the shadow claimed him, pneumonia's grip, or so the certificate lied. Sylvia jolted awake in the penthouse's sterile glow, sweat sheened, the dream's link snapping taut. Underfunded trials Grant's cast-offs, laundered through rural outposts for the poor's unwitting beta tests. The elite's greed fed on the forgotten, her boy's dismissal, a vein in the same corrupt vein. She rose, drafting a letter to Marcus by dawnlight, asterisk the shadows cross lines, love. But light finds the cracks. Asterisk resilience steeled her, bias's whispers be damned, she'd testify if it tore the web wide. The public glow ignited midweek, media's moss shifting from spectacle to sanctimony. Paparazzi drones buzzed the penthouse like metallic wasps, lenses glinting off the glass facade as fans, emboldened by viral snippets, gathered at the lobby barricades, signs aloft, asterisk Sylvia saves. Justice for silence. Asterisk CNN's morning slot looped Maria's interview, a fluffy ABC puff piece filmed in the atrium, the girl perched on John's knee, curls a golden halo. Sylvia pulled the tickly worm. Maria chirped to the camera, demonstrating with a floppy doll arm, her blue eyes wide as saucers. Now I hear Daddy's stories, roar like lions. The anchor teary-eyed, cut to B-roll, Sylvia braiding her charge's hair, their laughter a counterpoint to the headlines. Hero Maid unlocks billionaire's heir, blared the Times. From mop to miracle, Washington's whisper heard round the world, trilled Vogue. Sylvia, cornered in the kitchenette amid flashing bulbs through the blinds, fielded the frenzy with poised deflection. Ain't about me, folks. It's the child's song finding air. John watched from the study, a reluctant pride swelling, her ebony grace spotlit, racial whispers muted in the adulation's roar. Offers flooded, TED slots, Oprah spots, foundation seatings. For a breath, the penthouse basked, Maria's viral clip amassing millions, her voice a meme of hope, asterisk roar like lions. Asterisk remixed into anthems. But Grant's allies slithered in the glow's underbelly, seeding doubt like spores in fertile soil. The twist ignited Thursday Eve, a leaked photo splashed across Breitbart's feed, a blurred atrium candid, Sylvia's nail mid-probe, the tendrils gleam exaggerated into something sinister, captioned asterisk Tampergate? Maid's cure raises foul play flags. Asterisk clipped excerpt, asterisk sources close to the Mount Sinai Consortium whisper of unauthorized intervention. Could this miracle mask malpractice? Racial optics complicate, Washington's background scrutinized amid fraud probes. Asterisk John's lawyers, suits starched as their alibis, stormed the penthouse by dusk, briefcases bulging with NDAs and risk matrices. Image hemorrhage John, lead counsel Hargrove intoned over scotch in the study, graphs projecting stock dips. The narratives flipping, hero to hazard. Pull Sylvia from visibility, spin the family matter angle. John gripped the decanter, knuckles whitening, the mogul's reflex warring with newfound fracture. She's the fracture that fixed us, he growled, but doubt's whisper echoed. Privileges cost, now Sylvia's cross. Maria sensed the storm's edge that night, her whimsy dimming at dinner's approach, clinging to Sylvia's apron strings in the galley, blue eyes storm-scud. Lingered in the doorway, his call to the Texas widow replaying, they farmed us. Now the farm turned on its harvester, Bias's racial hiss amplifying the smears, Sylvia's blackness a convenient foil for Grant's ghosts. The celebratory dinner, John's bid for normalcy, a rare table set in the dining gallery with skyline candles, shattered under the weight. Crystal gleamed amid heirloom china, Maria's highchair festooned with wildflowers, the menu a fusion nod, Sylvia's cornbread alongside John's commissioned ossobuco. Laughter bubbled tentative, Maria regaling with lion roars over peas, her fork a scepter. Rawr, Daddy. Sylvia's the queen. John raised a glass, green eyes softening on them both, the trio's bond a fragile trinity against the world's grind. To echoes unbroken, he toasted, clinking Sylvia's water tumbler, her smile a quiet crown. For a suspended forkful joy reigned, maternal echoes weaving across divides, greed's veins distant as yesterday's code. Then John's alert chimed, a serpent in the garden, the New York Post's evening drop, banner screaming asterisk Maid's miracle or manipulation. Leaked photo exposes tampering in Smith scandal. Asterisk the article sprawled, venom-veined, excerpts clipped like shrapnel, asterisk anonymous insiders allege Washington's extraction bypassed protocols, risking neural trauma. Ties to Georgia instability? Consortium sources, this reeks of opportunism. Asterisk a sidebar dissected her, from rural clinics to rooftop redemption, or ruse. Racial undercurrents slithered, hired help's intuition coincidence or calculated. John's fork clattered, the ossobuco turning ash in his mouth. Maria's eyes widened, her roar faltering to a whimper, Daddy, mad whispers? Sylvia's hand stilled mid-cornbread tear, her jaw setting like flint, resilience's forge flaring against the bias's bellows. Hush, child. We eat. They howl. But John shoved back his chair, the gallery's vastness closing in, privilege's crack widening to chasm. They'll devour her to save their veins, his mind monologued, empathy's fire raging. The dinner's glow guttered, headlines shadows lengthening, greed's web tightening, Sylvia's steel the only light in the fray. The dining gallery's candles guttered like confessions snuffed, their wax pooling in accusatory drips as the Post's headline scorched John's screen. Maid's madness. Miracle or manipulation? The article unfurled like a venom scroll, anonymous leaks coiled tight. Asterisk sources within the consortium paint Washington as a volatile interloper, her extraction a reckless probe risking irreversible damage. Whispers of prior instability, Rural Georgia records hint at erratic behavior post-personal tragedy. Asterisk fabricated footnotes followed. Doctored psych evals from a Milltown clinic. Sylvia's stillborn spun as delusional fixation. Marcus's conviction twisted into enabling volatility. Racial tropes slithered beneath. Hired help's intuitive meddling. Echoes of undue familiarity in elite circles? John's pulse hammered. The osso-bucco congealing untouched. Maria's whimpered whispers bad. A knife twist in the hush. Sylvia rose slow, her napkin folding precise as a prayer. Ebony features a mask of flint. Let it howl, Mr. Smith. Wolves fear the dawn. But her eyes, those river-deep reservoirs, betrayed the sting, bias's barb hooking deep into old wounds. John shoved his chair back, the screech a prelude to the storm. Injustice's gale, power's hollow cost, brewing to break them all. The smear storm swelled by midnight, headlines metastasizing across feeds like a digital plague. Asterisk Fox primed, Maid's madness, from mop to menace? Asterisk, a pundit panel dissecting Sylvia's otherness, her Georgia drawl looped in mockumentary clips. Daily Beast, Tampergate deepens, Washington's shadowy past under scrutiny, pasting blurred mugshots of Marcus, caption convicted enabler? CNN's late-night crawl amplified, anonymous leaks suggest deliberate sabotage, insiders fear racial opportunism in Smith saga. John's alert screamed, stock tickers dipping in sympathy spasms, his board whispering of reputational firewalls. He paced the gallery's perimeter, floor-to-ceiling panes reflecting a fractured mogul, chiseled jaw clenched, green eyes storm-lashed. They'll bury her to exhume themselves, his mind monologued, privileges fracture widening to fault line. Calls flooded from allies, Hargrove's baritone, oily with contingency, distance her, John. Statement by Dawn, family health matter, no comment on staff. But each ping echoed Maria's voice, now an accusation in the quiet. Daddy fix whispers? Sylvia retreated to the kitchenette, scrubbing pots with ritual fury, her alto humming a fractured spiritual under her breath. Ain't the first shadow they've cast, she murmured when John hovered, suds flecking her cuffs. But it won't be the last I stand in. Her defiance elevated her then, heroism not in capes, but in the unyielding curve of her spine, yet the cost carved visible, hands trembling faint, eyes scanning the blinds for lurking lenses. Dawn's false truce shattered at 2:17 a.m., the penthouse's hush rent by the lobby's brutal symphony, elevators groaning under booted weight, a battering echo ascending like judgment's gavel. John jolted from fitful doze on the study chaise, Maria's monitor chirping her dreams undisturbed. The intercom crackled, Harlan's voice, reedy with alarm, Sir, NYPD. Warrant. For the Maid. John's gut plummeted, Hargrove's midnight counsel replaying. Let them take the heat off you. He bolted to the foyer, silk robe askew, as the doors hissed open to a phalanx in tactical blue. 6 officers, badges glinting cold, lead detective a bulldog with a tablet of evidence. The leaked photo, affidavit swearing Sylvia's tampering endangered a minor, ties to questionable associates. Sylvia Washington, the detective barked, eyes sweeping the opulence like a crime scene. You're under arrest for reckless endangerment and potential assault on a child. From the shadowed hall, Sylvia emerged, uniform impeccable, Maria's favorite ribbon still pinned at her collar, a talisman against the tide. On what proof? She asked, alto steady as gospel steel. The detective thrust the tablet, asterisk consortium complaint, unauthorized procedure. Risk of neural compromise. Asterisk John's mouth dried, Hargrove's script burning, asterisk protect the image. Cooperate. Asterisk officers, he interjected, voice a commander's bluff. This is a misunderstanding. She's family, but the lead cut him, cuff keys jangling. Stand aside, Mr. Smith. Your lawyers cleared the path. Chaos erupted visceral, raw as a wound flayed open. Officers surged past, boots thudding marble like heartstops, one pinning Sylvia's arms with clinical efficiency, her wrists blooming red under the steel bite. Maria's wail pierced from the nursery, a siren's keen slicing the night. Sylvia. No bad men. The girl burst forth in rumpled nightie, golden curls a wild halo, tiny feet slapping cold stone as she lunged. Let go. Sylvia good. An officer sidestepped, but Maria collided with John's legs, her sobs a guttural accusation. Daddy, stop them. John froze, empire builder's paralysis, legal chains heavier than any code, his hand half extended, Hargrove's whisper chaining it back. Asterisk one night. Clears the air. Asterisk Sylvia twisted mid-drag, her gaze locking on Maria's tear-streaked face, then John's, pity not hate, a river's depth forgiving the dam. "Hush, sweet pea," she called, voice fracturing but fierce. "Mama Sylvia's just stepping out. Sing the lion roar for me." The elevator dinged its maw, officers bundling her in. Maria's screams chased them down. "Sylvia! Come back!" Echoing the shaft like a child's requiem. John scooped her up, her body a shuddering knot against his chest, but his arms felt leaden, betrayal's brand searing. The doors sealed with finality, the penthouse exhaling into tomb-still regret, Powers cost, paid in a 4-year-old's howls. In the holding cell's fluorescent glare, Tomb's underbelly, a concrete crypt beneath Manhattan's gloss, Sylvia sat unbowed, wrists chafed but spine straight, the bench's chill seeping through her uniform like old ghosts. The space was a limbo of scuffed steel and stale despair, graffiti-scarred walls murmuring of broken pacts, a distant clang of gates like fate's indifferent hammer. Her mind wandered to Marcus, the injustice's echo chamber, a flashback uncoiling in the dim, Georgia's sweltering courtroom, 2018's July haze pressing the gallery like a shroud. He stood accused, bar fight with a white foreman over unpaid overtime. The man's bruises spun into aggravated assault by a jury of pale faces. Sylvia, great with Jamal then, had clutched the pew, her alto silenced as the prosecutor painted Marcus a brute, pattern of volatility, threat to community order. Evidence? Whispers, a planted knife, her own testimony twisted. He'd never. The judge's gavel fell like thunder, 10 years handed down, Marcus's eyes meeting hers across the divide. Defiant love, not defeat. "Write me the truths, Syl," he'd murmured in the visitation booth, glass between them cold as cuffs. "The world's lies can't touch us." Now in the cell's isolation that vow resurfaced, a smuggled letter materializing via sympathetic matron at dawn, contraband folded tight. Asterisk babe, heard the winds from up here. They chain the wrong ones to hide their own rust. But your light? It cuts iron. Hold for the girl, her roar's your echo. Love M. Asterisk Sylvia traced the ink's loops, resolve quiet but volcanic. Defiance's forge, heroism hewn from repeated hammerfalls. They'll twist me, she thought, folding it to her heart, but truth don't bend. The matron's nod was complicit grace. Outside whispers of her stability be damned, she'd testify, scars bared for every silenced vein. John's fracture deepened in the penthouse's pre-dawn void, the skyline indifferent witness to his rock bottom. Maria's questions pierced like shrapnel through the sleepless hours, curled in his lap on the nursery rocker, her voice a broken chime. "Daddy, why Sylvia gone? She fix me." Each word an indictment, her blue eyes searching his for the father who'd roar back the wolves. She had to answer questions, Peanut, he lied, throat raw, rocking her through sobs that racked them both. The betrayal marked him visceral, hesitation's cowardice, legal silk ropes binding hands that should have fought. Hargrove's 3 a.m. call confirmed the cooperation. Asterisk charges hold till morning. Spin buys time. Asterisk but time mocked him now, the study a cage of screens replaying the raid, bodycam leaks already viral, Sylvia's drag a spectacle of subjugation. John's monologue raged inward, Powers cost, mine, squandered on image, hers stolen in shadows. Empathy, Sylvia's gift, clawed up from the pit, her pitying gaze in the elevator, that whisper unvoiced but etched, asterisk see me whole, not hired. Asterisk by false dawn resolve kindled. He dialed Reyes, voice avows gravel, first alliance, round up the victims. We call the corruption out. No more silence. Reyes's affirmation hummed, the line clicking dead as protests brewed below, early risers clustering at the lobby, signs flickering in phone glow, asterisk free Sylvia. Justice for the voiceless. Asterisk. Alone in the gallery as sun breached the panes, John replayed her unspoken mercy, the wail's echo a lash, Maria's voice, accusing his quiet. Vowing silent, fists clenched to marrow, redemption's forge, injustice's sting fueling the fire, he stared at the city awakening, protest's murmur rising like a tide. The night had cuffed them all, but dawn promised keys forged in fury. The protest's murmur swelled like a tide against the penthouse's base, chants of asterisk free Sylvia. Echoes unchained. Asterisk filtering up through the dawn haze, a human underscore to John's vow. He stood at the gallery's edge, Maria's warmth a anchor against his chest, her breaths evening from nightmare's grip, tiny fist curled in his robe like a talisman. The skyline, usually a canvas for conquest, now loomed indifferent, corruption's tendrils invisible but ironclad. Reyes's line had clicked live at first light, allies inbound. Victims first, 3 confirmed, off books. John's reply was resolve's rasp, shield the girl. Then we cut the veins. Empathy's acceleration thrummed in his veins, entitlement's husk sloughing off, Sylvia's isolation a forge mirroring his own fractures. Down in the tombs, her quiet power coalesced. Up here, his crusade ignited, cross-class solidarity's spark-leaping chasms wealth had carved. In the interrogation room sterile box, fluorescents buzzing like trapped wasps, one-way glass of voyeur's veil, Sylvia sat unyielding, cuffs a loose bracelet on wrists that had cradled life and loss. The detective, bulldog-jowled with a notepad's armor, leaned in, Grant's proxy lurking via video link from a shadowed office, silver mane cropped tight in frame, eyes like polished agate. "Walk us through it, Washington," the detective growled, tablet cued with a leaked photo, her nail mid-delve, tendrils gleam a damning artifact. "You probe a child's ear with a manicure pick? No license, no oversight. Reckless endangerment, could have severed nerves, caused sepsis." Sylvia's alto held steady, river deep and unhurried, her gaze piercing the lens as if Grant's facade were rice paper. "Reckless. Try righteous." The girl clawed her ears raw, wincing like my Jamal did, tugging shadows no Dr. Dane to chase. The detective's pen scratched, Grant's feed flickered, a micro-twitch betraying the crack. She recounted the extraction with unflinching poetry, isolation forging her words to scalpels. The atrium's hush, Maria's fevered curls parting under her touch, the pulse, a foreign throb, slick as sin, yielding to her steady hook. "It wasn't wax or whimsy," she said, leaning forward, ebony features luminous under the glare. "A worm thing, engineered black, burrowed deep. Pulled it free, and her world cracked open, taxis honking, my hum threading through. First word? My name. Then loud, like grace-breaking chains." The detective shifted, notepad forgotten. Grant's voice interjected, charms varnish thin. Tragic intuition, Ms. Washington, but untrained hands risk catastrophe. Our protocols, funded by Mr. Smith himself, ensured safety. Sylvia's laugh was low, a spiritual undercurrent. "Protocols? Like the ones y'all tested on rural scraps? My boy's infection, dismissed in Georgia free clinics, underfunded shells for your trials." Shadow in his ear, same as Maria's. Doctors waved drops, said teething. He faded silent, pneumonia's lie. "But I see the parallel now, your select veins run poor too, cast-offs for the elite's endless drip." Grant's facade splintered, his feed's audio glitching, a sharp inhale betraying panic. "Speculation, detective. Rural anecdotes don't indict consortium work." But Sylvia pressed, testimony a tide-eroding stone. "Anecdotes? Call them echoes. Offshore ledgers don't lie, your phase 2 latency for high value. Maria's scars? Poke marks from your calibrations. My Jamal's quiet? Beta bleed from the same vein." The detective's eyes narrowed, tablet pinging an incoming, Reyes's anonymous drop, clinic parallels, Georgia trial logs mirroring Mount Sinai's. Grant's link severed abrupt, a hasty technical issue, but the crack echoed, leaks blooming in his wake, consortium whispers fracturing into whistleblower drips. Sylvia leaned back, cuffs clinking like defiant bells, her isolation a crucible, quiet power honed sharp, heroism not in volume, but the unbowed arch of her neck. "They'll twist, but truth's vein runs deep," she thought, Marcus's letter a talisman in her pocket. John's crusade unfurled in the penthouse's underbelly, a war room carved from the media sanctum, servers humming like co-conspirators, screens a mosaic of encrypted feeds. Haunted by the raid's wails, Maria's Sylvia good. A ghost refrain, he rallied evidence with a father's ferocity, empathy eclipsing the tycoon's calculus. Clandestine meetings convened under digital cloaks. First, the Texas widow via shadowed VPN, her ranch sprawl a pixelated prairie. "They implanted it too," she rasped, voice whiskey-scarred, showing faded scans, tendril ghosts in her boy's ear. Grant called it stabilization. 5 years, 20 mil, then silence eternal. John's nod was steel, no more. "Your files fuel the fire." Next, a Silicon Valley venture heir's spouse, link bouncing through proxies, our girl's congenital protocol locked till the leak. Offshore? Cayman vaults, Grant's yacht fuel. John's divestment roared parallel, billions clawed back in a dawn barrage, pharma proxies hemorrhaging red as his alert screamed revolt. Shareholders bayed in emergency calls. Smith, you're tanking the ecosystem. Reckless altruism. John's retort, once velvet threats, now raw vow, ecosystem? You mean the vein sucking our kids dry. I'm the purge. The boardroom echo chamber fractured, allies peeling like old code, but cross-class solidarity glinted. A janitor whistleblower from Grant's lab, voice muffled, saw the batches, rural donations for elite trials. Sign me on. Family strain wove through the frenzy, Maria's nightmares a visceral toll. Her voice, once dawn's gift, now laced with midnight tremors. The third night post-raid, she jolted awake shrieking, bad cuffs. Sylvia hurt. Golden curls matted, blue eyes wild as the worm's old shadow. John bolted from the study, scooping her from the canopied bed, her sobs a serrated blade against his chest. Shoo peanut, daddy's here. But her accusations pierced deeper, you let them take her. Like the Pokes. Rocked in the nursery's alcove, stars projected faint on the ceiling, John felt the fracture's depth, entitlement's remnants crumbling under a 4-year-old's truth. Flashbacks humanized him then, unbidden reels contrasting Sylvia's grounded losses, his Playboy 20s, penthouse parties a blur of champagne flutes and fleeting conquests. Elena met at a Milan launch, their whirlwind a merger of lust and ledgers, Maria's conception a footnote in velvet sheets. You're my empire now, he'd whispered post-deal, but the boardrooms called louder, weekends surrendered to Zurich jets while Elena paced empty nurseries. Victoria's era fared starker, silicon soirees where he dazzled with demos, her sharp mind a mirror till Maria's cries outpaced their synergy, divorce papers signed mid-flight, his control a firewall against the mess. Playboy to patriarch, he monologued now, Maria's whimpers a requiem, asterisk but Sylvia? Grounded in clay and cuffs, losses like anchors, Jamal's quiet, Marcus's bars. Her powers earned, not inherited. Asterisk to soothe, he wove lessons from her echo, strong like Sylvia baby. She roars quiet, holds the light when shadows cuff. Maria's sniffles ease to murmurs, her tiny hands signing roar together, John's transformation accelerating, empathy's tide, washing entitlement to wreckage. Escalation crested in the boardroom's virtual coliseum, John's purge a thunderclap amid the revolt. The call convened at noon, screens a grid of pinstripes and scoffs, 20 execs from his tech colossus, faces flushed with margin erosion. John, this divestment suicide, thundered VP Hale, a Harvard shark with Grant ties. Pharma's our hedge, billions vaporized overnight. John's camera framed him stark, penthouse vista a backdrop of resolve. Hedge. On children's silence. The ledgers leaked, protocol echo, implants for annuities. Grant's your bridge? Burn it. Murmurs erupted, Hale leaned in, charm's edge honed, allegations John. Syndicate's a myth, your maid's the liability. John's laugh was low, a father's growl, myth? Reyes has the veins, Cayman flows, victim affidavits. I'm purging, anyone with Grant's ink, out by close. The revolt peaked, resignations pinged like shrapnel, Hale's feed cutting with a hissed you'll regret this, but John's alliance momentum built in the tense dialogues, a rogue engineer piping in, lab logs confirm, rural betas for elite. Count me in. Solidarity's cross-class vein pulsed, janitor to jet set, united in the purge's wake, corruption's tendrils recoiling. The threat arrived at twilight, a cream vellum slipped under the penthouse door, anonymous courier, no prints, Reyes's sweep confirming, asterisk silence or lose more. The girl next? Echoes end in graves. V. Asterisk John's blood iced, the note script tying to tech rivals. V for Voss, the shadow mogul whose AI poached his coders, now circling the scandal's carcass. Deeper syndicate reach, his mind monologued, flashing to Playboy nights where Voss's toasts masked knives. Maria's nightmare wail echoed faint from the nursery, asterisk strong like Sylvia asterisk, as John crumpled the paper, empathy's fire roaring defiance. The empires fractured, but in the cracks, power's quiet forge glowed, John's transformation a blade, Sylvia's isolation its whetstone, the tendrils' grasp slipping as alliances knotted tight. ##### Chapter 7, Storm of Reckoning. The threat note's vellum crease haunted John's pocket like a serpent's shed skin, its ink, asterisk silence or lose more asterisk, a taunt from Voss's shadowed syndicate, tendrils coiling deeper than Grant's facade. Yet dawn's light pierced the penthouse panes, casting long shadows that danced with the rising chants below, asterisk free Sylvia. Let her voice echo. Asterisk the protests had swelled overnight, a human tide lapping at the tomb's granite flanks. Hundreds now, from bodega workers clutching faded signs to Upper East Side moms with designer strollers, their voices a polyphonic roar weaving gospel hymns with megaphone pleas. John's anonymous funding, funneled through Reyes's shell NGOs, had seeded the surge, porta potties for the faithful, sound systems amplifying the marginalized, coffee carts manned by Georgia expats echoing Sylvia's roots. He watched from the study's feeds, Maria dozing against his shoulder, her breaths a fragile counterpoint to the storm. Collective awakening, he monologued, empathy's bloom unfurling petals of purpose, entitlements wither yielding to alliance's vine. The media's double edge glinted in the coverage, CNN drones hovering benevolent, framing the crowd as justice's chorus, while Fox cutaways sneered mob rule in Maid mess. Sylvia's isolation inspiring from afar, her quiet power a beacon, John's advocacy the flare it kindled. Power a beacon, John's advocacy the flare it kindled. Evidence flooded in relentless cascades, Reyes's decrypts a deluge crashing John's vault by midday. Terabytes of Parasite Protocol's emails, unredacted and unsparing. Grant sign-off on Phase 4, latency extension for cohorts 47-89, naming dozens of kids like ledger lines. Ainsworth Air implant viable, revenue lock 7 years. Patel Scion, rural beta cleared. Elite mimicry 100%. John's screen blurred, rage's forge stoking to white heat as he cross-referenced. 87 victims total from Hampton's cradles to Houston high-rises, their silences a syndicate symphony. Wealth's blind spots, now veins laid bare, he thought, forwarding shards to the DA's shadow channel, testimony prepped for his secret deposition, scheduled in a federal safe house that eve. The flood crested with Maria's innocence, her Sylvia saved me drawing, crayoned in nursery fury post-nightmare, a stick figure maid yanking a squiggly worm from a crowned girl's ear, lions roaring triumphant below. John had scanned it for Reyes's leak op, a viral seed, from the unheard for the unheard. By afternoon it splashed across Insta feeds, hashtag Sylvia saved me trending, the image a talisman, golden curls fierce, worm defeated in rainbow slashes. Comments cascaded, asterisk my niece too, Grant's cure stole her song. Hashtag echo unchained. Asterisk media's edge sharpened double, heartstring tugs on TikTok, but smears in sidebar slants, asterisk child's art or coached prop. Asterisk Maria, oblivious in the play nook, stacked blocks into protest towers, her voice hope's embodiment. Daddy, draw Sylvia strong, like Lion Queen. John's nod was vow, her purity, the flood's purest current, washing corruption's silt. In the tomb's communal wing, steel bunks stacked like forgotten dreams, air thick with bleach and unbreakable spirits, Sylvia's solidarity bloomed in the despair's fertile cracks. The cell block's rhythm pulsed, clangs of trays at chow, whispers weaving fates like kudzu. Her first dawn there, matron's rounds brought her to the rec yard's chain-link pen, where women circled like survivors' counsel, tattooed timelines of battles lost and claimed. Fresh meat. A wiry Latina with scar-laced knuckles queried, eyes appraising not unkind. Sylvia met it square, her alto a bomb, fresh fire sister. Locked for loving a child's quiet too loud. The circle tightened, tales unfurling, echoes of her Georgia roots, strengthening resolve's roots. Big Rita, broad as a revival tent, shared first, me? Framed for the boss's skim, white collar cuffs on blue-collar hands. Like your dockman's game. Sylvia nodded, passing Marcus's letter like contraband communion. Same vein. My boy's shadow infection, rural clinic waved it off, but it was trial bleed for the rich's endless drip. Whispers rippled, a young Somali immigrant, eyes haunted as Maria's once were, leaned in, my cousin's boy same. Teething, they said. Gone now. We poor? They're lab rats. Bonds forged in the telling, shared pains a tapestry, Georgia clay mingling with Bronx brick, prison tales echoing her losses, Jamal's fade, Marcus's gavel. By yard's end, Rita clasped her shoulder, you roar for that girl, Syl, we roar back. Syndicate don't own these echoes. Sylvia's isolation transmuted, quiet power radiating, inspiring cellmates to scrawl protest notes on smuggled napkins, her defiance a spark in the steel's chill. From afar, but not alone, she breathed, resolve a river carving stone. John's stand pivoted at dusk, the safe house deposition a shadowed sacrament, federal basement, air humming with recorders, DA's team a phalanx of grim suits. He testified secret, voice a honed blade, emails confirm, protocol echo, implants for profit. 87 kids, My Maria the prize vein. Grant's facade? Cracked by her hand. The floods decrypts backed him. Files naming the doomed. Voss's threat a sidebar sting. Asterisk ties to my rivals? Deeper rot. Asterisk DA's nod was steel. Enough for indictments. Bail push tomorrow. Your op-ed seals it. John's words flowed unscripted, advocacy blooming full. Empathy's monologue aloud, wealth deafened me, blinded to the unheard, till Sylvia's grace tuned the static. Back in the penthouse by midnight, Maria's bedtime ritual a tether, her strong like Sylvia mantra chanted over storybooks, he drafted the piece. Wealth deafened me, a confession's clarion for the Times op-ed page. Fingers flew across the keys, Playboy ghosts banished. Asterisk I built empires on code, but ignored the silence in my own home. Maria's voice? Stolen by protocols I funded, greed's quiet coup. Sylvia Washington, Maid mother, miracle, pulled the veil. Not with scalpels, but soul. Her cuffs? Bias's bite, racial whispers amplifying the syndicate's snarl. I hesitated once, power's cost, paid in a child's wail. No more. Free her. Free them all. Hashtag Echo Unchained. Asterisk. The op-ed ignited viral at 6 a.m. drop, media's double edge wedding to wildfire. Times banner blared Billionaire's reckoning, wealth deafened me, Smith slams corruption, bias in Maid's arrest, pixels exploding across globals, BBC's measured gravitas, Al Jazeera's justice lens, Weibo's whispers in Mandarin. Shares surged, 500k by noon, Maria's drawing pinned as visual hymn, celebrities chiming, Oprah's tweet, asterisk heard. Now roar. Asterisk hashtag wealth deafened me trended twin to hashtag free Sylvia. Protests ballooning, thousands now, from Harlem marches to Silicon Valley sit-ins, crowds chanting John's words back at the tombs. Not with scalpels but soul. Uplifting swells balance the despair, drone shots of rainbow signs under autumn blaze, gospel choirs amplifying the surge, a collective awakening rippling cross-class. Janitors linking arms with heirs, Georgia faithful caravanning north. John's feeds flooded with DMs, victim parents, your voice gives ours wings. Even Voss's shadow flickered, a terse proxy ping, back off the vein or the girl pays. But the pivot held, media shift seismic, Fox's panel fracturing, one pundit conceding, Smith's confession cuts deep, bias can't bury this. The bail hearing forced by Eve's gavel, DA's motion greased by the flood, judge's gavel hovering as John's op-ed scrolled on courtroom screens. Sylvia, led in orange but unbowed, locked eyes with the proxy feed John had crashed, her river gaze a nod of roar on Maria, viewing from the penthouse with a sitter, Hope's voice piping, Sylvia free. Daddy's words like lions. Clung to her drawing, innocence's emblem undimmed. The judge's murmur sealed it, bail granted, pending indictments. Cheers erupted below, the storm of reckoning cresting, despair's dregs drowned in the swell, John's bloom a beacon, Sylvia's a far inspiration the wind at its back. As night cloaked the city, protest's embers glowed, collective's pulse sinking to one truth, echoes unchained, bias's chains cracking under advocacy's unyielding song. Storm clouds bruised the October sky over Foley Square, a brooding canopy roiling like the syndicate's unraveling veins, thunder rumbling distant threats as the Supreme Court steps heaved under the weight of reckoning. The protests had metastasized into a sea, thousands cresting from dawn's swell, a mosaic of faces from Harlem's faithful to Silicon Scions, signs thrusting like lances, asterisk echoes unchained. Free the healer. Asterisk gospel choirs swelled from the fringes, their harmonies clashing with megaphone edicts, the air electric with justice's gathering roar. John stood at the periphery, Maria's hand a warm anchor in his, her golden curls whipping in the gusts like defiant banners. Reyes flanked them, earpiece crackling updates, asterisk DA's motion lands, Grant in irons mid-hearing. Your trap sprung. Asterisk. John's tech snare, a honeypot algorithm seated in Voss's proxies, had reeled in the threat's tail, encrypted pings tracing to a Cayman shell, Voss's digital fingerprints on the note's courier. Subtle for now, John monologued, redemption's arc cresting, entitlement's ghost exorcised, empathy's full bloom a father's shield. Maria tugged his sleeve, blue eyes wide as the brewing tempest. Daddy, thunder like lions? Sylvia roared too. He knelt, pressing his forehead to hers, the girl's wholeness a miracle etched in every syllable. Louder than storms, peanut. Watch, we win today. Inside the marbled halls, the showdown thundered cinematic, a barrage of evidence crashing like breakers on Grant's crumbling facade. The courtroom's vaulted hush amplified every click, DA's projections blooming on screens, emails unspooling like venomous scrolls. Asterisk protocol echo addendum. VOS funding phase 5. Disrupt Smith if exposure risks. Latency implants. 92 cohorts. Revenue lock perpetual. Asterisk ledgers followed. Crimson columns of embezzled streams. $450 million siphoned to yachts and vaults. Victim names a litany of silenced heirs. Grant, once silver idol in tweed armor, sat chained to the defense bar, his mane disheveled, agate eyes darting like cornered prey. Fabrications, he sputtered as the first decrypt hit, his sign-off on Maria's calibration. Asterisk implant secure, extend dependency. Smith billable, $15M/quarter asterisk. The gallery gasped, a ripple cresting to outrage. John's proxy feed from the antechamber captured it all, his fist clenching Reyes's arm. Grant's breakdown fractured then, charm's varnish sloughing like storm-peeled bark, sweat beading his brow, voice pitching shrill. Competitive pressures, VOS's rivals, not malice. We pioneered for science. But the DA's hammer fell, affidavits from the rural betas, Sylvia's clinic parallels woven in, Jamal's ghost an indictment. Pioneered profit, Dr. Grant. Children's ears as annuities. The judge's gavel cracked like lightning, indictment sealing, conspiracy, fraud, endangerment. Grant sagged, fallen idol to chained husk, his whisper lost in the roar, it was just business. Outside, the crowd sensed the shift, chants peaking, thunder answering in kind. Sylvia's freedom mid-testimony was catharsis's thunderclap, the courtroom doors swinging as matrons led her in, orange jumpsuit traded for a simple sheath, ebony glow radiant under the chandeliers, her river eyes scanning the sea of faces. The DA called her pivot, Ms. Washington, your account? She ascended the stand unbowed, alto a clarion amid the hush. I pulled a shadow from a child's light, not for glory but grace. That worm? Echo of my boy's lost song, dismissed in Georgia dirt for trials you fed the rich. Her words wove the parallels, Jamal's flicker to Maria's scars, Resolve's quiet power inspiring the gallery to murmurs of amen. Grant's head bowed, confession crumbling from his lips in a broken rush, the protocols. VOS pushed the latency. I signed, for the funding. God, the kids. The syndicate teetered, his fall a domino toppling the web, offshore freezes pinging in real time, VOS's proxies scrambling as John's trap clamped, algorithms tracing the threat note to a midtown safehouse, NYPD en route. The judge's voice boomed, bail confirmed, full exoneration pending. Case against the consortium proceeds. Cheers erupted within, spilling to the steps like a dam burst. The reunion peaked on those thunderous steps, storm clouds parting in dramatic reprieve as Sylvia emerged into the gale, free, unchained, her sheath dress whipping like a victor's flag. Maria, spotting her from John's arms, wriggled free with a shriek of pure dawn, Sylvia. The girl bolted through the crush, golden curls a comet's tail, launching into the Maid's, now kin's, embrace. Sylvia sank to her knees, ebony arms enveloping porcelain, tears carving twin rivers down cheeks flushed with wind and wonder. Oh sweet pea, my lion queen, she breathed, voice fracturing into sobs, Maria's face buried in her neck. You roared true. The crowd's roar swelled symphonic, asterisk Sylvia. Sylvia. Asterisk. Cameras flashing a halo, the duo a living icon, maternal echoes bridged across scars and storms. John approached slow, his tailored stride humbled, green eyes glistening as he dropped to one knee before them, mogul to supplicant, redemption's arc complete. Sylvia, he said, voice raw over the gale, drawing a small velvet box from his coat. Within, a key fob etched with a nascent foundation sigil, a ear unfurling like a bloom. You opened more than ears. This, head of the Smith-Sylvia Initiative. Billions for the voiceless, rural clinics rebuilt, protocols purged, every Jamal and Maria heard. Not as Maid. As architect. Her hand trembled taking it, river eyes locking his, forgiveness whisper in the thunder, from shadows to song Mr. Smith. We build together. Maria tugged free, planting sloppy kisses on both, we win daddy. Sylvia queen, roar forever. John's speech unfurled then, megaphone in hand atop the steps, a father's vow booming over the tempest, storm metaphors amplifying catharsis's roar. Flanked by Maria on one side, Sylvia on the other, trio whole, arcs fulfilled, he faced the sea, dossiers thrust aloft like Moses' tablets, emails fluttering in the gust, ledgers a banner of exposed veins. One woman's courage opened our ears, not with wealth's vaults, but a heart that refused the silence. The crowd hushed, thunder punctuating his pause, rain spitting like confetti. I built empires blind, funded the wolves at our gates, let greed chain our children for quarterly gains. Grants fall? Just the husk. The syndicates deeper, Voss's shadows, racial biases twisting truth to tropes. Sylvia's cuffs? Not justice, but injustice's bite, black excellence smeared to shield white ledgers. Murmurs crested to affirmation, Maria's voice piping clear, Sylvia good. John's green eyes swept the throng, empathy's full bloom, wealth deafened me once. No more. This foundation? Free care for every echo, prioritizing the Jamals in Georgia clay, the Marias in marble halls. Biases exposed, protocols purged. We roar together. The speech climaxed with a handover's echo, key glinting as he pressed it firmer into Sylvia's palm. Grant's distant wail from the courtroom feed a fallen idol's dirge. Justice's roar peaked, cheers thundering seismic, rain sheeting down in silver catharsis. Crowd surging forward, hands linking across divides, collective awakening a storm no syndicate could quell. The emotional core pulsed in the trio's embrace amid the deluge, steps slick underfoot, lightning forking the bruised vault above like fate's endorsement. John drew them close, Maria sandwiched, her giggles bubbling through the downpour. Wet lions. Win wet. Sylvia's head on his shoulder, ebony and porcelain and Caucasian weaving inseparable. Family, she whispered, forgiveness hush threading the roar, her empowerment a quiet crown, from overlooked shadow to global lodestar, losses transmuted to legacy. John held tighter, redeemed in the rain, playboy ghosts drowned, tycoon's thunder yielded to father's murmur, you saved us, Syl. All of us. Maria's voice, whole and wild, sealed it, hug roar. The crowd's eruption swelled eternal, arms aloft, signs sodden but unbowed, choir swelling amazing grace in fractured harmony. As Voss's trap snapped shut, Reyes's ping confirming the safe house raid, syndicate's deeper tendril snared for now. Yet as the storm abated to drizzle's hush, a final whisper hinted at lingering shadows. A burner text to John's shadow line, Voss's sigil faint. Asterisk one vein cut, many pulse. Watch the girl. Asterisk John's jaw set, arm tightening round his charges, the crowd's joy a fragile bulwark. Thunder rolled distant, justice's roar echoing into twilight's uncertain fold, empires fractured, but shadows eternal, slithered on. The storm's thunder had faded to a memory's rumble, October's bruised skies yielding to November's crisp veil, as the Smith-Sylvia Foundation unfurled like a long-held breath released. From the penthouse's sunlit boardroom, once a warren of algorithms and audits, John watched the launch unfold on global feeds, ribbon cuttings in Harlem's heart, where the first Sylvia clinic rose on Lenox Avenue, its facade etched with an ear blooming into wings. Prioritizing the underserved, the network cascaded outward, Georgia's red clay hamlets first, Jamal's shadow honored in Freescan bays, then rural outposts from Mumbai's sprawl to Nairobi's dust, each outpost a vein pumping equity into silence's forgotten corners. Billions seeded the symphony, mobile units threading Appalachia's hollows, AI diagnostics democratized, no patents, no paywalls. Victim restitutions flowed parallel, Reyes's ledgers reversed, $200 million clawed back from Cayman crypts, checks hand-delivered to fractured families. The Texas widow's ranch mended with a clinic of her own, the Patel Scion song restored in a deli wing. John's signature graced the charters, but Sylvia's vision steered, her quarterly addresses, alto weaving spirituals with strategy, empowered a cadre of healers, former cellmates from the tombs, Georgia nurses once dismissed. Echoes ain't owned, she'd say in the feeds, river eyes alight, they're shared. John's humbled arc shone in the sidelines, mogul no more but steward, his op-ed's confession a cornerstone, wealth deafened, empathy amplifies. Legacy beyond vaults, the foundations rise a quiet symphony, hope's notes bridging the chasms as blindness had widened. Family healing wove through the launch's warmth, holidays blending cultures like threads in a shared quilt, Thanksgiving's table a tapestry of Sylvia's cornbread and John's fusion twists, spirituals humming under tech toys' glow. The penthouse gallery, once a sterile expanse, brimmed with hybrid joy, Maria's drone buzzing like a mechanical firefly, its were harmonizing with Sylvia's hummed wade in the water as she basted the turkey. John's sleeves rolled to elbows, carved with unpracticed hands, green eyes soft on the scene, his playboy ghosts exorcised, entitlements echo silenced by enduring bonds. Pass the green, Syl, he'd murmur, her laugh a river's ripple, only if you sing the chorus, Mr. Smith. Maria orchestrated the chaos, her voice a bridge, Daddy's bird. Sylvia's song, together. Laughter cascaded, the trio's integration a gentle proof. John's world, once coded in isolation, now laced with her Georgia grace. Marcus's letters pinned like icons on the fridge. The loose end tied in December's chill. John's prison visit to Georgia's gray fortress. A favor called through day strings. Marcus, gaunt but grinning through the glass. His release fast-tracked on the scandal's coattails. Wrongful conviction unraveled like Grant's web. You fought for my sill, Marcus rasped, palm to plexiglass mirroring John's. Oh, you the echoes. John pressed back, voice thick. She fought for us all. Welcome home, tables set. By New Year's, Marcus arrived at the penthouse, his mill-scarred hands clasping John's in a grip of quiet kinship, the family whole, spirituals swelling around tech-lit trees, bonds enduring as the skyline's steadfast gleam. Maria's growth flowered in the symphony's heart, her recital debut a springtime crescendo under the Foundation's banner, a sunlit auditorium in the New Harlem Clinic, rows filled with once-silenced faces, their claps a thunder of reclaimed song. At 5 now, Maria ascended the stage in a gown of blended hues, porcelain skirts swirling with ebony accents, golden curls crowned in daisy. Sylvia had braided with tales of lion queens. The program, a fusion aria, her voice piping clear and unbroken, fingers weaving ASL into melody. Twinkle twinkle little ear, hear the world far and near. The audience, victim parents, clinic pioneers, Marcus beaming from the wings, held breath as she signed the chorus, family roars, her blue eyes sweeping them all, innocence's emblem undimmed by the storms. John's seat creaked under his grip, tears unashamed, his girl's wholeness a mirror to his redemption, her bridge across worlds a daily grace, schoolyard chatter with Sylvia stories, playdates blending bodega kids with boardroom airs. She signs family to everyone, Sylvia would confide over tea, her leadership a quiet force, Foundation boardrooms run from Georgia outposts, her alto guiding globals. Maria's debut peaked in applause's roar, her bow a flourish, hands signing love triumphs, the hall erupting in echoes unchained. John's arc integrated there, humbled advisor, not emperor, whispering post-curtain, you bridge us, peanut. Whole worlds. The closing reflection came in twilight's hush, the penthouse nursery aglow with star projections, Maria's bedtime story a narrated hope, her voice, small but symphony strong, affirming love's triumph over silence. Curled in silk sheets, book splayed on her lap, a self-illustrated tome of Worm and Lion Queen, she beckoned John and Sylvia close, Marcus's silhouette warm in the doorway. Once, she began, eyes sparkling like dawn's first light, there was a quiet girl with shadows in her ears, and a brave queen who pulled them free. The king, Daddy, learned to listen, not command. Together, they built bridges of song, where whispers became roars. Her fingers danced ASL accents, asterisk roar, bridge, love asterisk, pages turning to crayon clinics and holiday feasts, Jamal's faint outline a guardian star. And the shadows? They faded, 'cause family echoes loudest. John knelt at bedside, Sylvia's hand in his, the trio's bonds a gentle circle, his redemption whispered in her pause, no more silence, baby. Your song's the legacy. Maria's finale trilled soft, the end? No, beginnings roar on. As her lids fluttered shut, breaths evening to dreams, the room held a hush of hope symphony, legacy beyond wealth, enduring in every integrated growth. Dear reader, miracles hide in empathy's hands, not thrones or treasuries, but the quiet reaches that pull shadows free. In the Smith's dawn, love triumphed not with thunder, but the tender chime of voices long unheard, echoes woven whole, fading optimistic into tomorrow's song. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as interesting and even more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.